Woohoo! And we're live once again for another LinkedIn for Authors Masterclass. And I have my favorite guru in the house today, the LinkedIn guru, Jeff Young. And we are talking, this is part 2. We already did a part 1, which I think we put the comments, we put the link to it. But you can go back and watch part 1 anytime. It's on 24/7 replay. And today we're picking up on the same topic, which is LinkedIn essentials for authors. But today in part 2, we're talking about strategy and action. But before we get stuck in, I would like Jeff to introduce himself and tell people who you are and what you do before we get chatting, Jeff.
Well, you could have easily introduced me as well. You know me well enough that you can do my introduction better than I can.
I do.
Namaste, everybody. My name is Jeff Young. They call me, around these parts, they call me, that's Texas speak. Around these parts, they call me the LinkedIn guru. Okay. I didn't pick that name. My network picked that name for me. If you look guru up in the dictionary, you see the word teacher. And that is exactly what I've been doing for 18 years now. I've been teaching LinkedIn for 18 years. And I've taught thousands of seminars and thousands of people as well. But I love, that's again why I've also got the superpower teacher, okay, in the background there, because I sometimes introduce myself by saying, hi, I'm a teacher. What's your superpower? Okay. So
I love that.
Third open this time at least, right?
Yes. And also too, Jeff is an author. So he's walking the talk or talking the walk, whatever the expression is. Hold up your book. Do you have it there handy? Yep, there it is. Okay. Be effective on LinkedIn. So Jeff knows what he's talking about, and so do I. So do I. So between the two of us, we've got some really good tips to share. And we are going to get stuck in now with our topic. And we're going to start talking about building your network strategically. Because in part 1 of our masterclass back in October, we talked about everything you had to do to kind of get that profile in order and, all this stuff. So that's, if you want all those profile tips, you want to go back and watch that one. And this is like, okay, we think you've already got your profile going. So now it's about being visible. That's really the sort of the thing we're stressing today, is make sure you're visible as an author. We don't want to have guesswork here. So now we're going to be talking about building your network strategically. And so we always talk about when you're a newbie on LinkedIn, you want to get to that first 500 connections so that people stop seeing your number. You want to be in the 500 plus. You don't want to be 42. You want to get beyond 42. But once you get to 500, you can kind of like, you can breathe a little bit. But now you want to be strategic about continuing to grow your network, but with the right people. This is important, the right people. So Jeff, we talk about, the first 500. It's like your friends, your family, colleagues, people you work with, clients, people because the important thing is, especially if you're on the free plan, you've only got those three invites a month. So most of the time you can invite as many people as you want, but you only get those 3 personal notes. So you want to be connecting with people who, as soon as they see your name, oh, Jillian, I know her, oh, it's Jeff. Yeah. So the idea now, Jeff, is, I'm going to stop talking so much. Beyond the first 500 connections, what do you recommend for people to start growing their network strategically?
So the best way I've ever seen of doing it is to engage with other people. Okay, find those people out there, either by search or by or do something that we talked about in the last one, which is utilize your own connections to find out the people that you use, the people you already know, to find the people you need to know. Okay, and that's one of the things that's extremely important, because most people who are open to networking have left their connections out there open for their connections to take a look at. So if you're connected with me and you go to my profile, you can click my 500 plus number of connections, and then you can see all the other people that I'm connected with. and you can tell whether or not you're second degree or third degree or whatever from those people. And if you see somebody that you want to be connected with, you can also contact me and say, Jeff, would you mind introducing me? Okay.
Mm, mm.
We talked about this a little bit in the last time as well. That's how you and I and Kevin got to be, the LinkedIn Justice League. Okay, because of the fact that you wanted to connect with Kevin, so I actually introduced you to Kevin in a DM. Okay, that's one of the methods that strategically the best use you could ever make of LinkedIn in terms of bettering yourself and making your network bigger is to introduce someone to someone else that they don't.
Mm,
Right?
mm. I
That's
agree. I agree.
part.
Yes. And I would also add in that you should take a moment to sit back and think, who do I want? Who do I want in my network? So that if you're an author, number one, you want your readers, you want your ideal readers. And hopefully if you've written a book or you're writing a book, you think about who is that ideal reader, because we don't write to everybody. And in LinkedIn, we don't want to connect with everybody either. We want to connect strategically with people who would be our ideal readers, but also to think of other people that might be good connectors to your ideal readers. And then also maybe people that are collaborators that you could work with, that you might say, I would like to know other authors. I would like to know other, editors and proofreaders. And because, I might need them myself, and I might need to refer people to these, or, even with your ideal, if you've written a book about, I don't know, buying a house or something like that, well, you would maybe want to connect with other realtors, because maybe realtors would want your book, because that would be good. They could leverage your book too. So you might not just say, oh, I just want people who are buying homes to read my book, et cetera, et cetera. So I think having that big who, and then having all the circles of who those people are, really helps you be strategic. Because I think sometimes we just go, I don't know. So you have to really think.
Well, I love the fact that you brought up the collaborators, the other folks, the referrals, okay, more than anything else. I mean, look, this is a networking platform. And I got to tell you, one of the biggest success stories from my book has really been the fact that there are at least two people out there that I didn't even know before I wrote the book, okay, and announced the book and put the book out there. There are two people out there that are now taking my book and referring it to other people and using it in their workshops and sending it on to other people as well. So every time they do one of those kind of things, my book is out in front of a whole new crowd of people that aren't even on LinkedIn necessarily. I mean, because their workshop may or may not be about LinkedIn. It may be about career development or something along those lines. So that's a part of my audience as well. And I really am eternally grateful to these folks that will actually take my book and pass it forward, pay it forward. Okay, because that's why I wrote it in the first place. That's why I wanted to have happen.
Exactly. And I love that. And I would tell everybody, take this tip from LinkedIn trainers out there. LinkedIn trainers are connected with other LinkedIn trainers.
Absolutely.
And if they can do it, everybody can do it. That is a good sign that we're not in competition, because essentially we can't have all the customers at the end of the day. It's like we can't service everybody. So the thing is, surround yourself with good people, good ethical people, and just kind of do that moving forward. So
we all know that there's over 1.2 billion people out there on LinkedIn, right? And all of those possible customers for me, well, yeah, I wrote a LinkedIn book. Okay. So it's possible, right? But I can't get to all 1.2 billion of those people unless I've got some way of doing that. And that's one person at a time, the next person, the next person, the next person that I can help. Okay.
Exactly.
And that's how
exactly. So if you are getting connection requests yourself, sometimes you have to think about, should I accept or should I ignore? And, those are your two choices. And but you can do a little bit of research on people before you do that.
Right.
And of course, go to their profile. But what do you think are some of the things, Jeff, that we should be looking for when we go to somebody's profile? Because, I don't just accept every single person. I go and I look and I think. So what are some tips that you would give people to make sure you consider this before you accept?
Well, the first thing I want to mention is that one of the things that LinkedIn watches is how many outstanding invitations you have, how many you
Mm,
sent, and how many you have in your inbox, in queue, right? Okay. And it doesn't like it when they're not like wine. They don't get better with age. LinkedIn actually penalizes you for not taking care of these things. So first things first, you need to take care of them. I don't think it's a good idea to have too many sitting in your inbox that you haven't processed. Because if you haven't processed something for a month, LinkedIn's going to notice that. Okay.
mm,
LinkedIn's going to say, well, why are they actually even active enough to figure it out, right? So the next thing then, of course, is to look at the person's profile. And to me, there are several factors, okay? I don't care if they're in the same industry. I don't care if they're even in the same state. They don't have to be, I mean, they could be in Australia for all I care. It doesn't really matter where in the world they are, okay? But what matters most to me is what they have said on their profile. Would
mm,
this be a win-win relationship in the first place? That's the first thing. If there's any chance of a win-win there, then I will go ahead and do that. Most of the time, though, with a generic invitation, I'm not going to give them too much time because I would rather have, for me, and again, I think this is true of most people now, especially now that they've all built a 500 plus, critical mass of networks. I don't necessarily want to connect with everybody, so I don't necessarily, I kind of ignore the generic ones, but go with the ones that have more specifics. I look first of all at that person's profile and does it represent them well? Okay.
mm.
It doesn't have to be even a match in terms of they do the same thing as I do. That's not necessary, but they have to have actually put some effort into their profile to give me an idea about who they are.
Mm.
And I mean who they are, not only from a professional standpoint, but from a personal standpoint as well, because it's allowable on LinkedIn. So it's what kind of a person is this? If there's a person that, okay, so here's an example. I have an affinity for helping veterans. Okay. You know that I've done that in many of my LinkedIn seminars, et cetera. So if this person is also veteran related and is
Mm.
already helping veterans, they're a leg up already. I'll probably say yes. Okay. The other thing that matters to me most is from a content standpoint, do they engage? Do they engage in my content? If a person has already been talking to me for the last 3 weeks by putting comments on my posts, etc., and we've had a conversation already, then that person comes to me and says, "Let's connect." I'll go, "Sure, I'm good. Let's continue the conversation by being connected." We already have connected anyway, right?
Mm,
Okay.
mm, mm.
And again, then it also then I determine whether or not this person is any kind of active on LinkedIn. There is honestly no reason, in my humble opinion, to connect with someone who's on LinkedIn once a month and then never shows up. Okay.
No.
For my,
It's a wasted ticket. It's,
yeah,
I do look at them as golden tickets because there is a hard line cutoff of how many, connections we can have. And so I think it's really important. And for everybody, watching today, recognize that when we go to your profile, if you sent us a connection invite, I go and I look at your comments. Are you commenting? Because that's one of the things I can look at is not just your posts. I might look at your posts and just see what kind of stuff you're posting, especially if I go, okay, I wouldn't want to see this. If your posts are a turn off, then I don't want to connect with you.
right.
But, even if you've never posted, I don't even care if you've never posted. If your profile is, like Jeff said, a win-win, and then I go to the comments and I see that you are engaged and you follow people and you give good comments and engagement on other people's posts. Then I just go, well, that's great because you're obviously in learning mode. And I appreciate people who learn and then give feedback. So
The type of comment matters as well. We've said this many times
yeah,
before.
great
Nice
post.
post is not a comment. I'm sorry. It's just not a comment. And oh, by the way, if all you've ever done is repost other people's stuff as well, that's not telling me anything about you necessarily, right? I mean, you're being nice, you're reposting other people's stuff, but you haven't added your 2 cents worth. That's the key to that one as well. So again,
that's true. Unless you're a newbie, but if you're a newbie and you're reposting and then you're engaged and then you're leaving a comment and that sort of thing, then I would cut you that slack.
Yeah, because again, but if they've never commented and all they've ever done is repost stuff.
Yeah, just reposting other people's stuff. And that's actually a sign of reposting without putting any kind of comment or engagement on it is usually a sign it's a bot, you know, and that's, I think that's what a lot of us are looking for. We just want to make sure you're a real human being. Yeah. So we go there and it's like, you got the weird fake picture. Yep. You have minimal stuff on your profile and all your only activity is reposting and you never comment. Guess what? I think you're a bot.
Yep. Oh, and by the way, don't forget that verified thing as well. Yes. Verification kind of goes a long way with me now as well. I mean, it hasn't caught on as much as LinkedIn would have liked to, but I like seeing it on someone's profile because that means they've actually tried to prove that they're a real person with a real ID and they're verified. So they're probably not a bot. Okay.
Exactly. Okay. So what if you accept the invitation and then you get what's called a pitch slap? And this was a question that was actually asked in our first live. So we thought we'd bring it back today. So the pitch slap is when immediately upon connecting, somebody just sends you the most scammy, not scammy, but the most pitchy, spammy, here's my stuff and the long and PDFs and like
buy my widget.
Yeah, buy my stuff. So how do we handle that? How do we respond to that, Jeff?
In my terms, okay, usually I don't even respond to it at all. I'm going to use those magic 3 dots and I'm probably going to drop this person like a bad habit. I'm sorry, because I just believe that is the wrong way to approach this process. You can't ask me to marry you on the first date. It's just not going to happen. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so I mean, I believe in love at first sight, but I'm sorry, that's just not going to happen if you're asking me to buy your stuff. Okay, so I drop them, and at worst case, I might block them, but at least I drop them as a connection. I don't keep them as a connection because I don't want them in my network anymore.
Right. No, that's good. And I do the same. And, I think our friend Kevin D. Turner talked about, I think it's Liam Darmody. And he just sends like a GIF, like it's spam. He just sends a GIF back with somebody like, this is spam. Go away. So, using humor is good.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I was actually send them something, it would be a gift that we go, you're out of there.
Exactly. And we just wanted to touch really, really quickly on the mighty more button, which is if you go to somebody's profile and you see that they don't have a connection button, it's because they're probably follow first.
Right.
And they in order to connect with them, you would have to click the button on their profile that says more. For some of us, like Jeff, it's being transitioned and now it's a ... It's it's a circle with the 3 little ellipses. And if you click on that, then you can see that's how you can connect to people. That's and right. There's also other gems on that where you can get a PDF and you can find more about the profile. There's a lot of good stuff in that. So Jeff, is there anything you want to save on the mighty more button except for you?
Yeah, or dot, the magic 3 dots. I used to call it the magic more button. Now I got to call it the magic 3 dots because LinkedIn, in its infinite wisdom, is always changing things, and that makes it tough on us teachers because I can't say more button anymore. I got to say both. I got to say it's the more button or it's ... Okay, but the magic 3 dots. I would say that that's important on profile because one of the things that's underneath there, by the way, is that if you can bring up someone's profile, whether you are connected with them or not, okay, there's an option underneath there that if you think this person might not be interested, you might not be interested in, but someone who would be, you can use that magic 3 dots to send this person's profile to them in a DM. I love the fact that that's another referral kind of thing. Here's somebody you ought to take a look at because they seem to be a match for you. Not me necessarily, but for you, right?
So that if you were, for instance, looking to recommend, oh, okay, I know somebody who's looking like, I think it was Mick Adam today was like saying he wanted proofreaders. If I knew a proofreader, I could just click that person and send it to Mick and be done. And that
Go
was
to
like,
that person's profile, click the three dots, send in a message, type a quick message into Mick, and boom, off it goes.
wow,
Yep,
wow. That's a
that easy.
great way. Good way to pay it forward. I like that. I
Yeah,
like that.
it's
So,
it's a very unused feature. I got to believe.
I
People
like
just
that.
don't know it's there because they never click the three dots. Which, by
No.
the way, if we're going to, if we're on the topic of more and or three dots, one of my favorite things to give people as a more effective thing to do on LinkedIn is if you see three dots, click on them. Find out
Mm.
what's below the three dots because you will be surprised what contextually there is available on a post, on a comment, on a, et cetera. Okay. Because especially on a post, because if you click three dots on a post, if it's something that you don't want anymore and it's spam, bye-bye. Yep, I don't want to see this anymore, LinkedIn. Boom, done. And it's 2
And
clicks.
a save. And you can also say, this is so good, I want to save it. So
Absolutely.
it's like, it's good to filter for good and bad.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you're
Yes.
right. Three dots, click.
Yeah, try
You
it
see,
out. Go
you
go
see,
go treasure hunting. Okay.
I love that. I love that. I love that. So treasure hunting, speaking of treasures, treasures are people. And so I'm going to hop over and I'm going to see what treasures have come
Let's
with
check
us
them out.
today. And let me see. Okay. So we have Jeff.
Of course, I'm in the front row. Yeah.
You're in the front row. Even when you're in the hot seat, you're in the front row. So this is you on YouTube. So it's always great to see you coming in with comment number 1. So we have Elle Hair today. She says, hello, good to be here. I always get lost in finding how to join. That's because
You made
LinkedIn,
it.
you got to work for these lives. You can't just, you have to work hard to come. So we're glad
You
you're here.
do. Thank you for being here.
And other people saying hello to each other. Hello, Sajid. Thank you for being here today. He's coming all the way in from Oman, and
Oh,
he
wow.
came to us from Stella De Silva. She
Oh, that's right.
recommended
Yeah,
he check us out. So we're glad you're here. Thank
I
you
saw
for
him in the
joining us.
comments. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And we have Jan, Sunny, Simon. I'm thinking she's related to Deb, our friend Deb Weems, and she is looking forward to part 2. Thanks, Jillian and Jeff. So she's here. So thank you for being here today. And we love sunny Florida people. And speaking of Florida people, we got Leslie here coming in from Florida as well. Hello to everyone. Florida's winning the geographic race today. We got the Florida people in the house today. Yay.
They're
And
warm
we
enough
have
action type.
that's right. We've got Camilla here. She's saying hello to everybody. So we're glad she's here. And Elle says, I won't connect with just anyone. These blank generic requests to connect with someone I don't know and who doesn't appear to be my ideal readership gets ignored. So, I think everybody has to decide what's right for them, what's right for them. And, there used to be a thing called LinkedIn. They were called Lions. they were like LinkedIn open networkers.
Right.
And I think Mick Adam just did a whole post about that. And just,
Yeah.
that used to be a real thing. And they were just like, they would go on everybody's post trying to.
Yeah, you don't see it as much anymore, which is actually good, because
Yes.
I used to make a joke about lions, from the LK, you know what this symbol means, right? Okay.
Right.
And they would connect with anyone who would fog a mirror. Oh no, and then I'd go, oh no, wait. Even if you're dead, they'll connect with you because that's all they want is another number. So
exactly, vanity metrics. Okay, so we have a question here, or we have a comment. This is an important point, and I get confused. What should I do? Some profile posts I am engaging with valuable comments, and they appreciate the comments. However, I don't get the same response to my posts in new traffic. I am not sure. Shall I continue engaging? Some people say they are observing, but for how long? Oh, never stop engaging. But what do you have to say, Jeff?
yeah,
What's your
absolutely,
thoughts?
never stop engaging. But I think the thing that one of the most recent changes to the algorithm, has been to reward clarity and consistency. Okay. So I would say, yes, definitely keep posting, definitely keep going out there, okay? In my case, for example, I mean, if I hadn't kept posting, I would have never gotten to the audience that I wanted in the first place, okay? And that was even before I wrote the book. Because I think if you think about the network from the standpoint of people who know me and people who go to my profile, which, by the way, if you want to pay me for today's, today's seminar, just pay me with a C, click, okay? Because go click on my profile and bring up my profile and take a look. But when you look at your network, you think of it from I talk about 3 C's all the time. Think of it from 3 C's as well, okay? There's the core. That's the you, the me, the Kevin D. Turner, the Debbie Weems, all of those people that are talking on a consistent, fairly at least once a week, probably more basis, right? That's the core of your network, okay? Then there's the casual network. The people that you might know and they might show up every once in a while and they might interact with your content every once in a while, or you interact with their content, okay? But the one that is really amazing to me is that never forget the fact that there is a network out there that is the 3rd C, and I call it concealed. Some people call it lurkers. So
Yeah.
I don't like that word. I call them listeners, okay? I call them, learners, okay? Because they're really trying to. So don't forget that you're reaching a lot more people than you think you're reaching. That's the key. So that's why I say keep at it. You'll be rewarded in the end.
Yes, yes. And also too, we actually comment more than we post. So, and that's a big thing, that it's like, it's always better to post less and then really, babysit those posts and engage. And when somebody comments, of course, at mention, which means putting the little at symbol and then typing their name, because if they don't get notified that you've, commented, because if you don't mention them, put that at symbol, they're not notified. And, and then when they do come back and, comment or put another thing, comment on the comment, like keep that conversation going as long as possible.
Absolutely.
And anybody who comments, go and pay it forward, go to their post, click on their profile and visit their profile, go see what they've posted. So it's kind of like the more engaged you are, it comes back to you in doubles.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that is, I think, one of the famous quotes that you actually gave me as a Kindle quote. I think you actually called it. One of the things in my book says that, look, you get out of LinkedIn what you put into LinkedIn. Okay.
Yes.
So the more you put in, the more you're going to get out.
Yep. And also too, if you have a smallish network, which would be like sort of, 1,000, 2,000, something like that, just remember, you might not have a very active network. And so you could be kind of posting to like a quiet room. There's not a lot of people seeing it. And LinkedIn kind of works in waves, and that when you make a post, LinkedIn doesn't show it to everybody in your network. They show it to a small group who LinkedIn deems as relevant. And who knows what that formula is, but that LinkedIn says, I think this post is relevant to these people. So we want to, of course, make sure our posts are relevant and on brand with who we are. And then if there's engagement, then LinkedIn kind of, I'll show it to a few more and a few more. So it kind of goes out in these waves. And that's why we quote babysit our posts. We don't post and ghost, because we want to be caught by LinkedIn doing something right. And that is responding to anybody who responds to our post. So,
well, I like that definition of babysit your post more than I like the old definition of babysit your post, because there used to be something that all of the LinkedIn algorithm, mighty algorithm people used to talk about, the golden hour. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not true anymore. Okay.
No.
Because of the newest changes in the algorithm, now it rewards that clarity and consistency. So LinkedIn will help you find your audience as long as you're out there doing it often enough and engaging with the people that do respond to you in the first place. Don't ignore your audience. If you ignore your audience, you're ignoring your possible readership.
Yep. Yep. So anyways, we hope that helps. We hope that helps. So we'll keep moving. Okay. So Elle says, I reposted one today, but with my brief 2 cents worth, I had to mix it up a bit as my posts lately have been all about me. So the only thing that I want to tell you is that when you repost and you do it with your thoughts, you leave all the other comments behind.
Yeah.
And that is, and it's kind of rotten that that's the way it works on LinkedIn. So I actually don't like that. I actually saw today somebody had reposted somebody, and they did the share with thoughts about somebody's book. And then they said in the original post said link in comments to go get the deal for his book. And it was just like, well, guess what? That comment didn't come. So the post died on the vine when that happens.
It almost always does. It's kind of a lazy dog when it comes to repost with thoughts, which is why I favor reposts, just reposting it, it brings it to your people, but it also, I think, rightly so, focuses on the original author, which is really what I want to do in the first place, right? So for example, this post that you did about this event, I reposted it immediately after you announced it on Friday or last week. Okay.
Right.
I also, by the way, there's no limit to the number of times. I wasn't going to repost it 3 times in a row, but I waited till this morning and I reposted this post again. Okay, so it's at top of my mind and top of my post, my posting activity. So there it is again. I reminded people that I was going to be here. It's a win-win situation. I'm helping you. I'm helping me because it might have been actually somebody who saw it and showed up. Today to say hello. That's exactly
and the trick is make sure whenever you do a repost, comment and click a like or a love or whatever, do an engagement and then comment. And then kind of now think of it like you're owning the post too. Like if I repost, I then start babysitting the comments as if I'm a co-author on the post, and that's what Jeff does. He goes and comments on all the other comments. He didn't just say, well, I'm reposting and then I'm done with it. You're just as involved with me. It's like you almost become the co-author of the post if you repost. That's my strategy.
Yeah, you can become a co-author and add just as much value that way and establish your brand that way as well.
Exactly. So Marcia is here. She says, hi, Jillian and Jeff. So we'd love to see you, Marcia. And Joey is here. And he says, every time I learn something new during these events, it validates how much I don't know. I love that. And it's so funny because sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And then, exactly. Which is like, but it's good because we can all hold hands and learn together.
Joey knows me well because he knows that I like hearing the fact that I did not know it could do that. I get paid by hearing the comment. I didn't know it could do that.
Truly stumping the guru. It's always good. It's always good. Okay. So now we're going to go back. We're going to move on to LinkedIn settings and privacy. So this is kind of an important thing. So again, this is kind of like, okay, you've got your profile all up and going. We're going to talk about what kind of settings that we think matter most to authors and probably for the rest of the planet too, but definitely for authors. So Jeff, out of everything, because there's too many to cover, what are some of the ones that it's like, be sure you do, you look at this one. What are those top ones for you?
I will keep it to a couple of categories because when you click under the me icon and you click settings and privacy, there are literally like 400 or 500 different settings that you could do. But the two categories I think that, especially for people who are authors or are looking to be more visible, is one of the categories is visibility. Take a look at the settings in the visibility area and do what you need to do to make sure you are as open as you are comfortable being. Okay. Now, again, that stems from the fact of whether or not you're actually going to show as an anonymous person when you look at somebody's profile or not, which I don't really recommend, but people do that. A lot of recruiters do that because they go in as anonymous because they want to look at people's profiles without leaving a footprint. Okay. But that's, or as what's the word I'm looking for? As asinine as whether or not you even display to more than your connections your last name.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I never have liked that. I don't know why. It just like, why would they not display their last name? it's usually already in their URL anyway, so I can figure out what it is. But, and if it came up, I guess maybe one of the reasons I don't like that is that if I went and did that one, it would come out as Jeff V. Jeff Y. Okay. And I don't like being called Jeff V.
Especially if you're an author. If you're an author, your name is on your book, unless you've written under a pen name. That's the only time we can say that's a little bit different. Yeah. But you definitely want to have your whole name on, and you want to have that be visible so that, like, when you come on a live like this and I flash your comment on the screen, that's your ability to have everybody's going to see you on this live. Like, you're being visible. And there's nothing worse when we have people come on the lives and they're blank heads and it just says LinkedIn user. And it's like, that ain't doing you any good.
Right. And the other one that I would suggest you take a look at as far as a category is concerned is data privacy. In particular, that one, there's one in there that talks about the messages and what kind of messages you will allow people to send you, whether you're going to have an open profile or receive those kind of messages or not, whether people can send you in-mails or not. I mean, people get in-mails from people who are trying to sell stuff all the time, right? Well, if you were really ticked at these people and really didn't want to see any more of this at all, you could turn off in-mails. You could tell LinkedIn not to send you any in-mail. Therefore, of course, you would only get messages from people you're connected with, right? Which, again, that's a closed-minded kind of look at things. So you want to be as open as possible, but as private as you want to be as well. So those two sections are the ones that I'd take a look at each of the settings in there and then tailor it to you so that it becomes you. And again, my overall recommendation would be as visible as you're comfortable being, because that's how you get found. That's how your book gets found.
I like that. I like that. And really think about, what are your goals on using LinkedIn, especially if you're an author. For instance, if you want to have visibility, like you would like to be on, say you've recently launched a book and you want to get on podcasts and you want to get some media interviews, then you would probably want to say, you know what, I want people to be able to send me messages and not be connected with me, because you're not connected to ABC or, the morning show or what, all these different people that could approach you. So always kind of take back, again, thinking about, what are my goals? I want to do speaking engagements. I'd like to get media coverage. Well, then you probably want more of an open profile. Yes. Or if you are writing under a pseudonym, a pen name, then turn all that stuff off, because you're not even associated with your book. It's okay. So just weigh it up with your goals and that data privacy. Take the time to really learn what all those different settings are, because sometimes you're just like, okay, well, do I want people to have my email address, or do I not want them to have my email address? And how could that hurt me? So, go through, and there's lots of help topics to go through and learn that stuff.
It never ceases to amaze me that someone will have a background banner that actually has their name on it, all of their name, but then their name shows up as a last initial. I don't get it. I don't know what that was for. So
that's that's definitely mixed messages there. So anyways, so data privacy and settings, make sure you go have a look at that. And one last thing with the settings is too, every time you do an update on LinkedIn, that's the one thing. Maybe you want that on or off. Like every time you put in, like if you're doing a lot of work on your profile, you might want to turn that off. But if you're launching a book and you're going to say, oh, I'm going to have a new position that's an author, maybe you want to turn that on, because then that way, when you decide to put in that, yes, you've now authored a book, you want all your LinkedIn notifications.
Yep. And you might want to turn those on first before you announce, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay, moving on to book promotion done right. So this is the hardest part, because authors love to write books, but they hate to sell books. They hate to do the marketing. And so if you're out there going, me, you just know you're in good company. We all feel that way. So the thing is that we want non-salesy book promotion. And it is perfectly fine to make a post that tells people about my book and, here's how you get it and this and this and this, but it can't be every single post, because then that's going to turn people off. So you have to be strategic. So Jeff, what are some of the things that you are doing to strategically remind people that your book is out there? What are you doing personally?
Well, when I launched it, of course, it's a different situation. I want to put more of it out there. Okay. But even in those instances, because you were the chief collaborator on this book, I made it as much about you as I made it about me. Okay. And so, my thoughts of putting out that kind of a post was, this book would not have been possible without, Jillian and Devin Whitney, and and oh, by the way, I'm Superman, but they're Wonder Woman and the Flash, because they're great in being able to help me as quickly as possible. So that's starting, the big rush. And I think one of the other things that we need to talk about here again is back to the strategy. You should have a strategy about what you're going to put out, when you're going to announce it, when you're going to. You might even want to go out there and have a Zoom party. I'm going to be on the 23rd. I'm going to be on a Zoom party with a person I know in New Jersey, and they're announcing their book, and it starts on the 27th. So they're having a Zoom party to announce it as well, right? That's not salesy. That's just getting together with the people you collaborated with, okay? And then on a again, back to the consistency basis, okay? One of the things that two things. First is that you are never going to see this word that I'm about to say in any of my posts or any of my comments. You're never going to see the word buy. I'm never going to ask you to buy my book. I'm just not. I'm going to make it available. I'm going to tell you it's there. I'm going to give you a link to it as much as possible in my profile or in my posts or wherever. But I'm going to give you something that will allow you to get to it. But I'm not going to necessarily ask you to buy it. My book is there. It should stand on its own merit. It should stand on the reviews that you see when you go look at it, et cetera. But I got to show it to you so that you can at least figure out whether or not it's something you want in the first place, right? So from a consistency standpoint, back to that other C, okay, I have a link as a kind of a signature line in every single one of my posts. I go, by the way, did you know that I wrote a book? And here it is. Here's the name of it, and here's the link to it. Okay, that's it.
Easy peasy, easy peasy. And I love that because it's very simple. And I have to say, it floors me to see a comment on Jeff's post where people will say, I didn't know you wrote a book. And you're just like, still, it's been like a year and a half, and it's like, still people are just like, and I know when I put out my 5th book, I had people going, I didn't know you wrote a book.
Yeah. Five times.
I'm on book number 5. And these are people that know me. And it just goes to show you that it's like people are distracted, they're busy. And it's just so reminding them is a lot different than saying, buy my book, just kind of reminding them, because essentially at the end of the day, you're looking for people that are looking for your book.
Yep.
And so your job is to just say, hey, I got this thing. If this could help you, I just wanted to let you know about it. And if it's what they're looking for, then they'll go get it. It's just easy. So I like that. Jeff, that it's just, you put that in what, every post now, or just some?
Every single post has got that signature line down there at the, along with that one that's also got the, if you found this helpful, go look for this as well. Okay. Yeah. So again, it's just a part of what I'm trying to do as a teacher. I am trying to, that's another adage that I use all the time. Okay. But I believe the best teachers in the world, okay, show you where to look, but they don't tell you what to see. Okay? Mm-hmm. They show you where you can find what you need, but I'm not going to tell you, I'll tell you my opinion on how it's worked for me, but that may or may not be right for you. But I just wanted to make sure it's available.
Mm-hmm. Love that. I love that. Okay, let's hop back over to our comments and let me see. Let me if I can find out where we are. It was always the hard part. I put a star to kind of keep myself organized here. So we have a hello coming in from Sidra. Val says, thank you for
Hi,
offering this wonderful masterclass. Thank you, Val, who's got a book coming out in February. So stay tuned for that. We've got Debbie here. Glad you're here with Sunny Simon. So I love it. I love it. And Debbie's got a book coming out soon. And all great tips again, Jeff and Jillian. So yay, yay. And Jan says, Debbie Weems, thanks. I just finished part 1 before this segment. She was great. Jan just went ahead and sent me a DM and said, can I have the link to, part 1? And boom, I just sent it. So it's good. And we will put the links again in the comments so that everybody can get back to part 1 if they want to. So that's great. Oh, I don't want to mess up your name, so I'm not even going to try. So he just says, hi, everyone. I just learned about this. We're glad you're here and we welcome you. And if you have any questions, please put them in. And if we can't get to everybody's questions live, we'll get back to you. Might be tomorrow, but we will get back to everybody with any question that people have. And so Elle says, great question. I can resonate with that occurrence. Maybe she's talking about Q. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Oh, we do have, here we go. Marcia says, it's annoying when people do not even make an attempt to comment, but my impressions are high. So that's good. It's in front of you. And, we never know why, I think sometimes people just kind of, they're not sure what to say, and it's like they might have their mother's voice in their head that says, if you can't say anything nice, don't say nothing at all. I think sometimes we just kind of go, well, I don't know what needs to be said here. And, so it's always hard. You never know. And it's weird. I've actually had people that have come and had discovery calls with me and wanted to work with me. And they've never commented on any single one of my posts, but they said they've been reading them. So, you're right. It's the concealed, it's a concealed network. And so, okay. So Q has a question. Why does LinkedIn not automatically disseminate the post to your own connections that you painstakingly put together? Good question. What are your thoughts?
Well, it is a good question. It's actually, more than anything else, it's actually a matter of infrastructure and bandwidth. LinkedIn cannot do that for 1.2 billion people talking to one another, et cetera. So LinkedIn had to pare that down somehow and try to use an algorithm that says, most likely this person is trying to talk to these people, so it sends it to those people to begin with. And as Jillian explained earlier, then if it gets a reaction of some sort, it starts to ripple. It's almost like putting a pebble in a pond. It starts to ripple out, and you get more and more and more. But again, the more you do that, and the more consistent you can be, the more you will find that, like Marcia said, okay, her impressions are happening. She's getting the impressions. Okay, if you keep getting the impressions, sooner or later you're also going to get the engagement.
Yes. Yes. And let's just clarify for people, impressions. What does that mean, Jeff, for anybody who's new and says, what do you mean impressions? Let's just clarify that term.
Well, that really is the term, and the only way that LinkedIn can measure it is that it means that it has scrolled by on somebody's screen. It has appeared on someone's screen. So an impression on a post means that someone has actually seen it pop up in their feed. Okay. It does not mean, which is more important, which is important here as well. It does not mean that they actually read it. Okay? Right. It does not, so
therefore it's been shown.
Yep. It's been shown to this many people, okay, on their screen, and it may have just been scrolling by it and they didn't stop and they didn't say hello and they didn't, et cetera. So that's why the measure of comments, we always talk about comments. That's why the measure of comments is much more important, because that since there is a comment, you've got engagement on that post. Yes. That's why it's important.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So we hope that helps. So we just have to go with what we have, but just remember that ripple effect, because that really plays a big part. Okay. People are saying hi to each other, which we always like. Okay. Debbie says, you never know who will see your posts. Always keep engaging. So always just don't stop. And just recognize, as your network gets bigger, your engagement gets bigger, and everything happens as you go. Cause it's like, that was probably the biggest mistake I did when I got on LinkedIn. I had like 53 connections, and I was banging out a post every day going, why does nobody comment? That's just because I only had 53 people. Right. And out of that 53, probably the only people looking was my sister, and I don't even know if she was commenting. So you just kind of go, the bigger, always, I think of it as like a TED Talk, and you're in an auditorium. You want people in those seats. Otherwise you're giving a TED Talk and nobody's here. You're not getting any applause.
Yeah. Without a critical mass for a network, you're talking to yourself.
Yep. So Elle says, oh, good to know about share with or without thoughts. Okay. Well, and that's just our opinion. That's but that's our, especially with those comments getting killed. I just keep thinking about that poor guy in his book and nobody getting that comment. It's just like, oh, you should have put it in the post. Okay. About relevancy. Everyone says it's relevant. If you are doing personal branding, create a circle of personal branding around you. Your audience should be related to your niche. The question is, if I am doing personal branding, then how come another person who is also doing personal branding buys from me? It could be it could be that they just want help. They, it's like, we can't do everything. It's like I've helped clients that they're great writers, but you still need somebody to collaborate with you and help with you and give you a different perspective.
Again, it's part of that. It's a part of that, ripple effect to some degree in many instances. I mean, okay, sure. You are talking to when I think of personal branding and I think of your audience, I also substitute the word tribe, because your tribe is out there. But you know what? One of the other things that I use a lot as far as comments is concerned as well is your vibe attracts your tribe. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that may be somebody that you've never heard of before, and they might actually find something that you are providing that is exactly what they want. I mean, again, it might have even been because of a review of something somebody gave you that they then saw, I mean, it happens all the time on Amazon, right? Amazon reviews all this stuff, and I might go buy something that I didn't think I needed before, but now all of a sudden, because it does this, I'm buying. So because you do that, people might buy from you as well.
Exactly. And so Debbie says, start promoting your book before it's published. Absolutely. So we're putting plugs in for Debbie, because Debbie's book's coming out soon. So we're doing that. And Elle says, settings in privacy. Is there a way to limit which countries see my post profile? My target readership is not in, for example, Thailand, Taiwan, or Zimbabwe. Well, first of all, no. But the other thing too is that you just have to remember, when you connect with somebody, you're not just connecting with them, you're connecting with everybody in their network. Correct. And so, for instance, I'm connected with John Asperian. And I actually met somebody through John Asperian who lived in Las Vegas when I was in Las Vegas and lived down the road from me. We went and had coffee, and then she worked with me. And so if I had said, I don't want to connect with people in England because I'm never going to work with people in England, which was not true anyways, I would have lost that. I would have lost that opportunity. So you don't know, on the other side of the world might have people that need exactly what you need in the location you want to work with.
So don't limit yourself.
You got to think bigger. That's what the global networking thing is all about. And there are some people, we know some people that say, I don't work with people in other countries. I know somebody in Australia who's that. And she says, I only work with people in Australia, but she still connects with people, but she just physically wants to have all her clients to be in Australia. And then that's cool. But she could meet me, who has Australian connections, that could give her Australian clients. So it's just amazing how that works. Yep. And
I hate to sell.
Hate to sell books. That's you and everyone else. So let's go back and see where we were. Okay, now we're moving on to managing your time. And I'm trying to be good about that, managing our time today, because I want us to try and end at that 60-minute mark. So managing your time. time commitment and daily routine. So you really can do LinkedIn without being on here for hours. You don't have to be like Jeff and I come on for a long time, but you can be timely with LinkedIn, kind of saying, I'm going to do 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night. And there's my 30 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
But daily routine, that is good to have a daily routine. So Jeff, do you want us walk us through your recommendations on time commitment and a daily routine?
Well, and again, a lot of people have looked at me after having one of my LinkedIn seminars, and they go, Jeff, you really need a life. Because all you ever do is spend time on LinkedIn, right? And I do love LinkedIn, but you know what? What else would you expect from the LinkedIn guru? My audience is on LinkedIn. So yeah, I probably spend more time on LinkedIn than you do, okay? But I also try to make sure that I'm talking to people. When I talk to people, I say, be effective on LinkedIn as well. And that means probably not spending all day on LinkedIn. That also means not getting, in that black hole called the feed where you just scroll and never look at anything else. So my daily routine starts kind of like with the way that I describe my networks, with the core, with the casual, with the concealed, okay, kind of thing. Daily, I'm going out there and I'm picking and choosing certain people that I am going to engage with on a daily basis. I'm going out there and I'm looking to see if they've done anything. I'm going out there to see if I've missed a comment on one of my posts that has popped up. Okay, so a lot of my daily routine says at least that first few hours, I'm going to make sure that I've taken care of my core network. Okay, and then I might get off for a while, and then I might come back later on, and I might do something else in terms of watching and picking up. And what drives me more than anything else, and I use as a kind of a to-do list, is my notifications tab. I always check my notifications. I process my notifications one at a time. I probably get more notifications than most people get emails in a day. Because again, I've got a network out here on LinkedIn, and that network is interacting with me when I'm asleep sometimes because they're, on the other side of the planet, et cetera, right? So literally it's become a habit for me to, for example, comment on a good friend of mine in Australia's post. If he posts in a day, I comment one of the first things because he posted and then he's gone to bed. and reply, so we converse, but we converse through the comments because that's the way it works. So having a plan, and usually for me, that usually ends up being, and my daily routine and my time commitment is driven by as I said, the notifications, but it's also driven by bookmarks, because I use LinkedIn on a desktop, and those bookmarks are a saving grace for me because they can take me from left to right or right to left. I don't care which direction it has to happen, but I can go through each one of them, tick them off, do my thing, and then be done with it. And I can go off and do whatever else that I want to do later on. That's the simplest way that I can explain it to you. It's doing what you need to do to foster your network, to support your network, and then doing it as effectively and efficiently as possible with that routine, doing it the same way on a daily basis. And of course, in my case, then the Monday daily routine also includes monitoring my post, because the post comes out on Monday. And literally, I used to post more than that. I used to post 2 or 3 times a week. I found that I just don't have the time to do that justice. So I really post once a week and then make sure that I engage with all of those posts. And again, it's worked out well because I get over 100 comments on every single one of my posts and thousands of views. So that's worked out well for me to have that kind of a routine.
That's good. That's good. And the only thing I would add is, if you post, like I post 3 times a week, and what I do is I will post first. And well, actually, the first thing I usually do is go in and just check and make sure there's no DMs, because somebody maybe they sent me something personal. But yeah. I actually like to post first, and then I stay on LinkedIn by doing what Jeff talked about, going through the notifications tab. That's when I might go to my networking tab and see if I've got other people that want me to, connect with me. And then I answer that, like Jeff said, you don't want those sitting around, and I wouldn't want to do that to people anyways. If they want to connect, I either make the decision and, not let that sit for weeks. I like to take care of it right away. And then, so people first, so post. And then while that post is going, if there's more notifications, I can attend to those. But then I can also be going on other people's posts, and I can be commenting on other people's posts, not just sitting there looking at mine. It's like, if I watch my little video with my dachshund typing or something cute that I've done, I'll look at it once, and then I don't need to keep looking at it. I'll look at other people's stuff. So I think that having that, and checking to see on that notifications tab, I actually like the new design, because it's like, it didn't used to be as good as it is now. But there's actually even that mentions tab, and you can even like see, has somebody mentioned you in a post or a comment? Maybe you missed it. So check to see, have I been mentioned in a comment? Have I been mentioned in a post? And I like to keep the conversation going. So, if somebody's commented, even if I don't want to add another comment, I at least go and I, give her a heart or a like, or, something like that. So, I think that's really good. And, definitely do more comments for every, one post. Do 10 comments on somebody else's stuff. Make sure you're out there being a big giver. So that's what I would do. So Jeff, as we get to the end and we're wrapping it up here at the top of the hour, I wonder if we could leave everybody today with a quick win. What, out of everything we've talked about, part 1, part 2, what's the quick win that you would tell people to do today?
Well, 2 things. First of all, if you're an author, do something that would update your profile somewhere that says you're an author, and add something more to it so that you can be found again. Because LinkedIn loves activity. So, and far be it that you should ever actually scroll far enough down to actually update the publications section. That is way below the fold, but it's there for publications, duh. And a book is one of those. So put something in that section for sure, but do something, add to it. At least once a week, but do it today. Don't wait. Just put something out there today. And the other thing is, again, when you're coming back to LinkedIn, treat LinkedIn like it's real life, because it is really a real life networking party that goes on 24/7, 365. So if you would do something in real life, do it that way on LinkedIn as well. Okay. And that's a formula for success as far as I'm concerned, because it's been successful for me so far. Not one.
I love it. I love it. And I would add, make sure that somewhere on your profile, I know you're an author. It's just somewhere that when we go to your profile, whether it's in your banner or your featured section, or, a position, or like Jeff says, in the publications, somewhere, don't play hide and seek. Let us know you're an author, because otherwise, you're really missing on your strategy and your visibility. So Jeff, thank you for being here today, and always appreciate the great knowledge that you share. Everybody, I'm going to put a plug in. Jeff, show your book again, because I think your book is awesome. And Jeff made this the cheapest possible that he could, because he didn't want to make any money. So when we were working together, Jeff says, what's the cheapest I can do it on Amazon? So it's just, just at cost. And that's what Jeff does. So he tries to keep his book as reasonable as possible. So if you're new to LinkedIn, please go check out Jeff's book.
Thank you.
It's great. It's great. I highly recommend it, as does Wonder Woman too. So I love it. If you've seen my little Wonder Woman GIF, you'll know how that all works.
Yeah. If you check out all the comments, you may see it in the comments sooner or later. Yeah.
I think so. I think so. So thank you for being here, everybody. And we will be back next month with another LinkedIn for Authors Masterclass. I have a new person coming up, and I won't tell you until later. So thanks again for being here, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Namaste.